Welcome to On Texas Football. I'm Bobby Burton, joined by Gerry Hamilton. Time for a little talking ball this afternoon with Dr. Brett Robin, sponsored by Dr. Brett Robin over at the Austin Orthopedic Institute. Guys, today what we're going to talk about is the players that are developing right now, kind of before our very own eyes, and ones that we think can impact winning as it goes deeper into the season. We've already seen some guys like Grayson Littleton, who had 65 snaps on Saturday. I believe, 65 snaps on Saturday, the most of any defensive player for Texas, and he was a true freshman. You also had Brandon Baker, who had the most snaps on offense. He's a true sophomore. Some of those guys have already established themselves, and then you have guys like Anthony Smith and Parker Livingston that have established themselves as well. Colin Simmons, of course. But let's talk about some of the other guys who, if you look at the plays they were in on, Gerry, you kind of get a picture of what Texas is attempting to do and try to develop them and bring them in. First, before we get into specific names, okay, this is a younger team, Gerry. How important is this development if they're going to be as good as they want to be later in the year?
Yeah, it's everything because injuries haven't really kicked in yet, and they will kick in as the season moves along for every team in college football. So the injuries haven't even kicked in, but it's everything for this team. I mean, because what Texas has done through recruiting, what the goal is to build some of the best depth in the country. Well, that depth's got to come through as the season moves along, as these guys get their first snaps and game actions of their college career, or build off of game action they've already had previous seasons. That's what's so important now, because the meat of this schedule hasn't begun. It begins October 4th, and that is so Texas has 3 weeks of 2 games left, essentially, plus an off week to try to get as many of those guys ready for SEC play as possible.
I think that's the point of it, right? So we're really talking, and just so you guys know, true sophomores or below.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about Arch Manning, who's a redshirt sophomore officially. Or even someone like Nato or Connor Stroh, who haven't played and are now coming into their own. I'm talking about true sophomores or below. And I'm looking at the list, and it's really kind of interesting because not only you already had Colin Simmons in on this list and Ryan Wingo, guys that had started for Texas already. Anthony Smith gets added to this as one of those that they're relying on now, I think. But here are the other guys that I listed. Murad Watson.
Yes.
Really came on from the first game, had 30 snaps in the win over San Jose State, had a sack and a half and 5 tackles. I would add to this that he is in actuality a true sophomore, even though he came over from Syracuse. That's more snaps with Alex January, who is also a true sophomore.
Yeah.
Also in that group, January was out injured on Saturday. Then we add other guys at other positions. 2 tight ends to mention. Nick Townsend is getting to be an H-back, I think, that people like to see. And then Jordan Washington. Jordan Washington had 28 snaps on Saturday. Nick Townsend had 17. That's a lot of work for backup tight ends. Washington, in fact, had more snaps than Spencer Shannon. And that's an interesting thing to watch.
Also, a lot of 12 personnel, Bobby, something we're going to watch.
A lot of 12 personnel. I think that I'm mentioning that, and I also want to mention one more receiver, and then I want to talk about playmakers as well as the running backs. Khalil Lockett had 9 snaps and 2 catches. Yep. Steve Sarkisian mentioned him on his Monday press availability. And then at running back, Christian Clark with 14 snaps, Jarrett Gibson with 21. Obviously, with Trey Wiseman out, they're going to get it. But if you look at this outside of the defensive tackles, if you look at that offensive skill position group, someone's got to step up there and get into that rotation. Because I tell you what, if one of the big time guys goes down with an injury, Texas looks really thin at those spots right now.
Yeah, especially until Emmett Mosley gets back, right, at wide receiver. Because that is a guy that when he was recruited to Texas, was recruited to be a starter on this team. Well, he hasn't played yet in the Longhorn uniform. But those tight end positions, I think, are huge because it also adds versatility to your offense, which I think needs it right now based on what we've seen through 2 games. The ability of Jordan Washington in Nick Townsend to stretch the field in different ways. And even if Nick Townsend has more of an H back at times, his speed is something I think Texas needs right now in this offense. And then Khalil Lockett, where Khalil Lockett has a real opportunity on this team, is the 50-50 ball winner, the guy who's going to extend and snatch the ball out of the air. There is a need for that right now, especially with Emmett Mosley out. But Khalil Lockett has that 50-50 ball winner ability. He has that back shoulder ability. And I think the more we see a Lockett, the more plays he will make, because I think I call it kind of an area code receiver. Arch doesn't have to be perfect. If he can get it to the area code, Khalil Lockett has the ability to go make his quarterback a play. And I think Texas needs that on offense right now. And I'd also say this, Bobby, about the running backs. I think we see more, because Sark did say Trey Wisner's doubtful in his words for this week at the press conference today. So what does that mean? More Clark, more of Gibson. I also won't be surprised if we don't get our first looks at James Simon in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I would add this on Clark. Sark saying that he wants to see Clark hit the hole a little bit more.
Yeah.
He felt like he danced a little too much.
And those are his first carries ever, right? It's some indecisiveness is not unexpected in your first game action ever at running back. But this week, he's got to be a lot more decisive and use that ability, stick that foot in the ground, be decisive, and go be the type of explosive, powerful back he can be.
I want to talk a little bit more about some defensive players here in a second, Jerry. But first, I want to say thank you to our sponsor. That is Dr. Brett Robin over at the Austin Orthopedic Institute. Dr. Robin is a guy that played for the university, has been a good guy all his entire career, but he's now a doctor over at Austin Orthopedic Institute, and he is here for you. He's accepting new patients now, 512-856-1000, with convenient offices in Austin, Georgetown, and Killeen. If you're looking for a top-notch orthopedic, give Dr. Robin a call again, 512-856-1000, and get back to your active lifestyle and doing what you love. He emphasizes a conservative approach first with all folks, but does offer advanced surgical procedures, everything from arthroscopic procedures to fracture management and even total joint replacements. Dr. Robin, the former Texas running back, is your orthopedic specialist in Central Texas. All right, Jerry, I mentioned defensive ends, and Sark mentioned both of them today also. But one a true sophomore, or actually a redshirt freshman, the other a true freshman, Lance Jackson, 25 snaps on Saturday. That's a lot for a true freshman. Second most of any true freshman, by the way. And then Zena Umozolo, he had 20 snaps against San Jose State. That's a lot of work for some backup edge players. They're building depth in that edge room right now.
Yeah, and Zena is interesting because we had kind of reported how much Texas liked him during the year that he didn't hit the field. And then he injured the thumb in spring and suffered a setback, or else I think he'd be even farther ahead right now than where he is. But he has shown to be a guy that's body's filled out. He's 6'5", listed at 262. His length has always been one of his elite traits, but his ball get off has really improved since high school. That's something I'm watching. He may be more of a pass rusher than I gave him credit for down the line at Texas. And with Lance Jackson, look, he affects the vision of the quarterback because he's a large human at the defensive end spot.
6'5", 6'6"? I mean,
270, 275 with long arms and a big frame guy. So he can affect the vision of a quarterback. He had a batted ball. He's also got power. But 25 snaps, and he hit the field more than we thought against Ohio State. So they are getting him ready as well to have that more of those jumbo defensive line packages in the SEC against a couple teams that really want to run the ball at Texas. And then we'd be remiss or I would be, if I didn't mention Justice Terry got on the field a decent amount Saturday as well in the NASCAR package. He got a holding call against him. So Lance Jackson, Justice Terry, Zena, and obviously Justice Terry eventually will be an inside player. Those three guys, though, I'm not sure we expected Lance Jackson to be on the field as much as he has been early on. So that's a real testament to how quick of a learner he is working with Lyle and Clark.
I'm also looking at another one that I thought was interesting, and Sark mentioned him as well. That's Xavier Filsaime.
Yeah.
20 snaps on Saturday. That's the most work he's gotten. Obviously, he's gotten ahead of maybe Jordan Johnson-Rebel at this point. We were wondering how that was going to play out in preseason. Filsaime getting more reps there. Nate Kibble also got 10 reps at offensive guard. He looked really good. A lot of young players, long story short, getting time right now for the Longhorns. Let's sum this up, though, Jerry. Okay, because that's the real important part. Grayson Littleton, Anthony Smith, Murad Watson, Parker Livingston, those guys are all playing.
Yeah.
Who are the ones that need to take that next step over the? Is it Nick Townsend and Jordan Washington? Is it one of Clark, Gibson, and or James Simon? Is it a Khalil Lockett or Dalen McCutcheon at receiver? Yeah. Zena and Lance Jackson provide depth at defensive end. Who are the ones that you're circling and saying, hey, I think the next 2 games we're going to see more and more of these guys?
Dalen McCutcheon and Khalil Lockett.
Okay.
Because, when you see DeAndre Moore go down in the second half of that game, you're like, that won't be the last time a wide receiver has to exit a game.
Yep.
It's a long season. Emmett Mosley hasn't played yet, as I said earlier. That puts more of an emphasis on Dalen McCutcheon and Khalil Lockett. Those guys have to develop by SEC time. These next 2 weeks in the off week are really big for them. They need to become dependable. And I'm not saying they're totally in a Rod Babers circle of trust with Sark at wide receiver, but they need to be dang close. They need to have 1 foot in the hoop. I mean, that's where, because there's going to be injuries at this position. And until we see Emmett Mosley on the field and what that's going to look like, how close to 100% does he look, then especially, Wingo is struggling a little bit early on this season. Texas is truly going to need Dalen McCutcheon and Khalil Lockett to come on probably quicker than we thought. Running back, look, I think Jarrett Gibson with the fumble, that's really tough for him because he looked quicker to me Saturday than he did last year, Bobby. He looked quicker getting to the outside than he had. I think Christian Clark will get better with the more reps he gets, but I do think we're going to start to see James Simon a little bit too and see, does he bring a speed dimension to this running back room that might be able to push his way onto the field a little bit. And then obviously there's going to be some guys. I'll tell you another one. We need to, whenever we get Nick Brooks on the field, we need to see if he's a mover of people in the run game. Whenever he hits the field for the first time, and I think he needs to hit the field these next couple of games to see if he's a mover of people on a Saturday afternoon or a Saturday night in DKR.
Yeah, because obviously Brandon Baker is already playing. I mean, he's one of those guys that you're relying on. He's a redshirt freshman, but they absolutely relying on Nick Brooks, a true freshman. May need some backup there to see what he can do differently. I look at it, though, Jerry, and I circle a guy like Nick Townsend.
Yes.
And circle Jordan Washington. Townsend, because he brings a physicality that is so rare.
Yeah.
And I would love to say that everybody plays the game like Nick Townsend, but we all know that's not true. I mean, he throws his body around like he doesn't care.
Yeah.
Okay. And he's athletic when he does it. But if he and Jordan Washington can help Jack Indries, can help Spencer Shannon, that gives you a different look in the red zone.
Yeah.
It allows you to have and do different things. Sark mentioned it again today in his press conference. Tight end, I think, is the second most complicated position and most valuable position in my offense.
Yeah.
All right. Given that, I think the more pieces he has there that he can rely on, the more complicated he can and nuanced he can make his offense, particularly in the red zone. So I kind of look at those guys. Beyond that, I think that the 2 defensive ends are going to be players that take snaps, you know what I mean, and do so in a good way. Lance Jackson and Zena, both good players. But look, if Lockett could come on and be a guy, to your point, if McCutcheon could come on and be a guy, then all of a sudden we're all looking at a little bit deeper team, which is not unsurprising because that's what we've been saying. the 24 and 25 recruiting class for the University of Texas are really, really good.
Yes.
And we've said that all along. We believe it. And now you have a 23, 24, and 25 recruiting class, in my opinion, leading the way for the entire team. Now, you have some guys that were in the 22 class with Cole Hudson and NATO and those guys. But I'm telling you, the younger guys right now, it's time for them to keep growing up.
Can I add one more, Bobby?
Yeah, absolutely.
One we need to see is Jonah Williams in special teams in the game. At some point, Texas needs some explosivity out of their special teams, and the guy on the roster that can bring it that hasn't hit the field yet is Jonah Williams.
All right, let's see what he can do. But I think all in all, it is another week where we'll see these guys continue to grow up. I think that's a big one. Sark even mentioned in his press conference today that some guys were saying, "Hey, I didn't get to play enough." Well, guys ahead of you got to do their jobs and get that score a little bit different so that we feel comfortable putting younger guys in sooner.
Yeah.
So hopefully that happens against UTEP, but one step at a time, by the way. No doubt about that. All right, Jerry, I know you're down in South Florida getting ready to go see some recruits today. Good luck doing that. I'll talk to you again tomorrow morning on Coffee and Football. Later today, Coach Shipley, CJ Vogel, and Rod Babers talk a little Texas football tonight around 7:15. They'll answer your questions as well as talk about other things that Steve Sarkisian said earlier today. For Gerry Hamilton and our producer, Matt Hutchinson, I'm Bobby Burton. You guys have a good one. Hook 'em horns.